TikTok isn't just for the kids anymore. It's one of the fastest growing and most used platforms by all age groups. So how can businesses get their content on the platform and make more of the opportunities on TikTok? Keep listening to find out. You're listening to the Content 10x podcast, where it's all about content repurposing. I'm Amy Woods, and I'm here to help you maximize your content and find smart ways to get your message in front of more of the right people, whilst also saving time. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Content 10x podcast. I'm your host, Amy Woods, founder and CEO of the world's first and longest running content repurposing agency, Content 10x. And in this episode, I'm sharing how to increase your brand's presence on the fastest growing social media platform, TikTok. If you listened to the previous episode, I shared the key findings for content creators from the Infinite Dial 2022. So you'll know that TikTok's usership has grown rapidly, and not just for the younger age groups. In the last 12 months, TikTok usage has grown by 20% within the 12 to 34 age group, and more than double for users over 35 years old. So today, more than a third of the US population are active on the platform. That's a huge increase from just 11% of people in 2020. But this episode isn't about the numbers. They tell us the story of why your brand should have a presence on the platform, that's for sure. But this episode is going to tell you how you can do it. So keep listening to find out 2 angles for repurposing your content to TikTok, how to increase the return on investment if you decide to create content natively for TikTok, and I'll share 4 B2B brands who are winning on TikTok to get your inspiration flowing. Let's jump in. So I said that there were 2 angles for repurposing your content to TikTok. The first is taking your existing content and reformatting it for TikTok. Now, TikTok videos are vertical, so a portrait format, like Instagram Reels and Stories and Snapchat, so that vertical style video format. If you have a video show or a video podcast, you're creating videos for YouTube perhaps, or just the kind of videos that you will put on your website for your business, then I'm guessing many of those are not recorded in portrait mode. And this can present an issue when repurposing existing video content like that to TikTok, because those videos are usually in landscape format. Now, there are plenty of ways to overcome this, but I suggest working with a video editor and really paying attention to other brands on TikTok to see how they're doing this kind of repurposing. So if you use video editing software like iMovie or Premiere Pro or Filmora, you can place a part of a landscape video onto a vertical frame that you've created, and that can often look okay. But you can also zoom in on a horizontal video when creating a vertical video to make it that format. So you don't have a frame, but you're just zooming in on the horizontal video. Now, sometimes this can look good, sometimes it can just look like way too much of a zoom in and you are losing some of the quality of the video. So you need to work out what's going to work for your kinds of videos. So do focus on the quality and see what is possible. Now, Stephen Bartlett, host of the Diary of a CEO podcast, does really well with repurposing his teasers and highlights from his guest interviews. So he has YouTube videos, so they're in that horizontal format, but he also creates lots of TikTok videos from those same YouTube videos, and they managed to do this really well. So I recommend going and checking out that Stephen Bartlett and the Diary of a CEO on YouTube, and then look on TikTok. Now, he also repurposes his stage talk, so the events and the speaking that he does onto TikTok. This is another type of content that you could repurpose to TikTok. So if you're a speaker, if you've spoken at events or do presentations and have video footage on stage of you giving those talks, or perhaps you have recordings giving a virtual presentation, could you repurpose those videos onto TikTok? So think about that and see if there's potential there. Now, I think a really important point that I just want to make is that a lot of the content that does well on TikTok is created native for the platform. That isn't to say that you can't repurpose this other video content onto the platform, but you do just have to assess whether you think it's right and whether you think it's going to work. So taking scenes from, say, you talking on stage, or taking segments from great things that you or your guests have said for, say, a podcast or a webinar can work really, really well. But just critically assess and make sure that you think it's engaging enough for TikTok, when the whole point is that it's short form engaging videos. Now, I would only recommend repurposing video content to TikTok. So if you have an audio-only podcast, for example, then I suggest not repurposing that audio content to TikTok by creating audiograms. It's a big thing of mine that you have to always be platform specific when you are repurposing. And in this case, with TikTok, I really do think that audiograms just don't really have a place on TikTok. So let's strictly stick to video content or a collection of photos that you turn into a video. So that can work really well on TikTok as well. But audiograms, I'd say not so much. So that's the first approach, repurpose your pre-recorded videos to TikTok. The second approach is to repurpose concepts from your content and create native TikTok videos. What I mean by that is using one of your pre-existing content ideas to create a brand new vertical video. For example, if you recorded an audio-only podcast episode sharing 5 of the best CRM systems for content marketers, you could create a TikTok where you share one of the top benefits of each CRM. You could add trending music over the top and use text on the screen, or you could do a talking head style video with lots of cuts between each point, adding captions, etc. Or perhaps you want to include some screen recorded footage to make it even more helpful for viewers. My advice is to pay attention to what's working when you're creating it and use that as your guide. Hey, just a little break from this week's episode to let you know about becoming a Content 10x Insider. If you want more content repurposing tips and advice, then why not join hundreds of business owners, marketers and content creators who get them delivered straight to their inbox once a week by subscribing to the Content 10x newsletter. As well as tips and advice, you get industry updates, inspiring stories, exclusive content, offers and more. You can subscribe at content10x.com/newsletter, and there's a link in the show notes too. Okay, back to this week's episode. Now, when you're creating content specifically for TikTok, you can reshare the video to Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts because content across all of those platforms works really well. But just be mindful though that if you create the video on one platform, let's say TikTok, and you get the TikTok watermark on the video, and then you post the video as an Instagram Reel over on Instagram, you'll find you get really limited reach. The platforms do not like you resharing the same video that you created elsewhere. Particularly, TikTok isn't too keen on Instagram Reel content on their platform, and Instagram definitely isn't too keen on TikTok content on their platform. Now, you can run the videos through tools and apps that will remove the TikTok watermark or the Instagram watermark, but the platforms aren't daft. They still seem to know when you've done this, because even if you do remove the watermark, it does seem like you are unlikely to get very good reach on those videos even still. So that's just something to consider. I suggest having one platform focus, so TikTok or Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, and really drill down into what's working on that platform. And if you can, create the video off the platform as much as you can, so in another tool or video editor. And then when you go to post it natively to each platform in turn. So take that video that you've created as much as possible elsewhere, and then when you're uploading it to TikTok and then Instagram Reels and then Shorts, do all the native platform specific features in the app itself. So all platforms will then view that video as a native video and not reposted. Now, if you can create lots and lots of native content specifically for TikTok, then you're pouring a lot of time and energy into one channel. That's a lot of eggs in one basket. So it's important that you have a repurposing process in place to make the most of that content. If you have a lot of videos on one topic, for example, all about the ways to win on YouTube, let's say, then other repurposing opportunities include curating all of the videos into one blog post, and then you can publish it on your website. That's a way for people to find your website and be able to see your brand as an authority on YouTube content by looking at these engaging videos in your blog post. Or maybe you could take the key quotes from your TikToks and turn them into quote graphics that you can share across the other social media platforms. You could also take the script that you created for your TikTok video and repurpose that into a tweet or maybe into a Twitter thread. That could work really well. And as I mentioned, you can reshare the videos on other platforms. We talked about Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, but you could also share the TikTok videos on LinkedIn as well. I've seen that working really well for some people, so that's something to consider. Also, consider reposting the original recorded footage, including bloopers in your stories. So take people behind the scenes of creating your TikTok videos. There's lots of options to make your TikTok content go further. So what B2B brands are actually using TikTok effectively? Well, I love to see many tech brands leading the way with B2B TikTok content. So the e-commerce platform Shopify reposts their influencer and user-generated content and also creates informative videos all about what you can do with Shopify using the trending TikTok video styles. You'll have to check out their feed to see what I mean, but Shopify are doing this really well. Square, the digital payments company, and also Adobe, the computer software company, use similar tactics, interspacing user-generated and influencer content with short videos that showcase their products in a platform-specific way. And they are using trending sounds, keeping the videos short, and are focusing on being relatable and entertaining and informative. There's also SalesFeed, a TikTok profile created by Vidyard, which you'll have heard all about if you're a listener of my other podcast, B2B Content Strategist. This is a B2B TikTok account aimed at people within sales. So their aim is to create funny, entertaining videos that their audience can relate to. And their strategy is working really well. They grew from 0 to more than 40,000 followers in just 6 months on TikTok. So to hear more about that, check out my interview with Tyler Lessard on my other podcast, B2B Content Strategist, and that's episode 2. I'll put the links to all of this and those TikTok accounts in the show notes so you can actually see what these accounts are doing. I really hope they inspire you to make more of the opportunities TikTok can have for your brand. If you already have a TikTok for your business, then I'd love to see your content. So share it with me on social media and tell me what you think of this episode as well. I'm at Content10X on all the platforms. Or perhaps you want to start repurposing your content to TikTok, but you just can't face adding another social media site to your list of marketing duties. Well, we can help. We repurpose our clients' video content into TikToks and Reels, as well as Square videos, YouTube videos, and we publish it all for them too. So to find out more about our content repurposing services here at Content 10X, just head to content10x.com and book in a call with me. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I really do appreciate it. All that's left to say is I'll catch you in the next one.